All right, so you want to make sure you get where you're going on time, right? We all do. That's why we're diving into Cirium's 2024 report. They're like the official timekeepers for the airline industry. They track flights all over the world to figure out who's consistently arriving and departing within 15 minutes of the schedule. Basically, who's the best at getting you where you need to be on time. And let me tell you, the results are pretty fascinating. First up, the global winners. The gold medal for punctuality goes to, drumroll please, Aeromexico. Coming in at a close second, we have Saudia. And rounding out the top three is Delta Airlines. Now here's where things get really interesting. All three of these airlines are part of the SkyTeam Alliance. And for those who aren't frequent flyers, SkyTeam is a group of airlines that basically team up. They work together on things like scheduling and sharing resources. It's like a big aviation support system. So it makes you wonder, does being part of this alliance actually give them a punctuality advantage? It's definitely something to think about. And what's even more intriguing is that Saudia, one of our top performers, they've actually decided to double down on their growth. They recently placed a massive order for 105 new planes, which is basically going to double their fleet size. Talk about ambitious. This begs the question, how do you maintain such impressive punctuality while going through such a huge expansion? Do they have some secret formula for efficiency? It's a real head scratcher. Now let's shift gears a bit and take a closer look at some regional standouts, starting with the Asia-Pacific region, where we see a real nail-biter of a competition between Japan Airlines, which is also known as JAL, and All Nippon Airways, or ANA. These two are neck and neck in the race for punctuality dominance, with JAL just barely edging out ANA for the win. This kind of consistency is truly remarkable, especially when you consider just how complex air travel can be in such a busy region. And then we have Singapore Airlines coming in a respectable third place.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting here is that Singapore Airlines has actually been named the world's best airline multiple times by Skytrax. There's a really well-respected airline rating organization. But when it comes to punctuality, they don't quite crack the top two spots in their region. This really highlights an important point. Being the best doesn't automatically mean being the most punctual. They're two different things, each with their own unique set of factors that influence them. And speaking of regional standouts, we have a bit of a surprise coming out of the Middle East and Africa region. Safair, a low-cost carrier based in South Africa, they've actually managed to snag the top spot for punctuality, which kind of challenges the stereotype that low-cost airlines are always late. It seems like affordability doesn't have to come at the cost of being on time. And here's another twist. Iberia Express, the low-cost arm of Spain's Iberia. They actually outperformed their parent company in terms of on-time performance. Go figure. This all goes to show that punctuality is a much more complex issue than it might seem at first glance. It's not just about budget or even reputation. It's a whole mix of things: operational strategies, management practices, and maybe even a little cultural influence thrown in there. Now let's switch gears from airlines to airports. And the winner for overall punctuality, as well as punctuality among large airports, is Riyadh's King Khalid International Airport, or RUH, as it's known in airport codes. This is especially impressive when you consider how much passenger traffic they've been handling lately. It really speaks to their ability to manage growth without sacrificing efficiency. Coming in hot on Riyadh's heels, we have Lima's Jorge Chavez International Airport, or LIM, and Mexico City's Benito Juarez International Airport, or MX, both demonstrating some serious on-time performance. And we also have some honorable mentions in different size categories. Honolulu holding it down for large airports, Tocumen and Panama-Itami, and Osaka and Brasilia representing for the medium-sized airports. And then we have Guayaquil, Quito, and El Salvador really shining among the small airports. This just goes to show that efficiency isn't limited by size or location, whether you're landing in a massive hub or a smaller regional airport. Effective management, streamlined processes, and a well-coordinated team can make all the difference when it comes to getting you to your gate on time. But let's be real, even the most well-organized system can't control everything. Mother Nature has a way of throwing a wrench into even the best-laid plans. And with weather becoming increasingly unpredictable, thanks to climate change, it's a constant challenge for airlines and airports to stay on schedule. And to add to the pressure, global tourism is booming again. In fact, according to the UN, we're back to pre-pandemic levels of travel, so airlines and airports are facing a real surge in passenger numbers, which makes maintaining that smooth operation even more crucial. It's a delicate balancing act for sure. It's like they're trying to conduct this massive orchestra with thousands of instruments all playing together. But then you've got Mother Nature, who sometimes decides to switch up the tempo. Talk about a challenge. But there's another piece of this puzzle that we haven't really explored yet, and that's airline alliances. You know how we mentioned that the top three most punctual airlines were all part of SkyTeam? Well, it turns out that SkyTeam as a whole actually won the award for the most punctual airline alliance in 2024. They beat out Star Alliance and One World. So for anyone who's not a frequent flyer, airline alliances are basically groups of airlines that join forces. They work together on things like scheduling, connecting flights, and sharing those fancy airport lounges. You could think of it like a study group for airlines. They share best practices, coordinate their efforts, and try to boost their overall performance. So SkyTeam's Punctuality win kind of suggests that this teamwork approach might actually be giving them an edge. But here's the thing that makes you think. If being part of the most punctual alliance is such a big advantage, why didn't every single SkyTeam member make it to the top of the individual rankings? It's like saying that even if you're in a really great study group, some students are still going to do better in certain subjects than others. So even though being part of an alliance might provide a good foundation for efficiency, each airline still has its own unique way of doing things, its own routes to manage, and its own external factors to deal with. And on top of that, Cirium's definition of on time doesn't really tell us the whole story. They don't differentiate between the reasons for delays. So a flight that was delayed because of a mechanical issue is counted the same as a flight that was delayed because the incoming plane was late. It's a bit like judging a book by its cover. You get a general idea, but you don't really know all the details. And that brings us to a question for you, the traveler. How much does punctuality really matter to you when you're choosing your flights? Is it the most important thing? Or are you willing to be a little bit flexible? If it means supporting an airline that aligns with other values that are important to you, things like sustainability, great customer service, or taking care of their employees, it's all about finding the right balance between getting where you need to go on time and supporting the things that you believe in. Here's a final thought to chew on. As we get ready to wrap up this deep dive, we've looked at the data, we've uncovered some interesting trends, and we've challenged some common assumptions. But ultimately, the power is in your hands. The choices that you make as a traveler have a real impact on the direction of the aviation industry. So choose wisely. Travel with intention. And don't forget to embrace the adventure. Because travel is about so much more than just getting from point A to point B on time. It's about the journey, the unexpected moments, and the memories that you make along the way. Speaking of unexpected moments, I've been thinking, what if there's actually a downside to this whole obsession with being on time? Could it be that this constant push for punctuality actually has some negative consequences? Like, what if a small delay could sometimes be a good thing? What if it meant they could do a more thorough safety check? Or maybe even prevent a missed connection, which could actually get you to your final destination faster in the long run. It's kind of like that saying, haste makes waste, right? Sometimes taking a little extra time can actually lead to better results. Of course, it's all about finding the right balance. We all want to get where we're going on time, but it shouldn't come at the expense of safety or the well-being of the passengers and crew. And that brings us to the real heart of this conversation. When you're planning your next trip and you're looking at all those flight options, how much weight do you actually put on punctuality? Is it the deciding factor? Or are you open to being a little flexible if it means supporting an airline that prioritizes other values?
Things like sustainability, treating their employees well, or providing excellent customer service. At the end of the day, the choices we make as travelers, they really do shape the future of the aviation industry. So let's fly wisely, let's fly with intention, and let's not forget to embrace the adventure along the way. Because travel is about so much more than just getting to our destination on time. It's about the experiences we have, the connections we make, and the memories we create. So until next time.